the most holy period in the Christian calendar. We celebrate Easter, of course, and even though the book of Matthew, our reading of it hasn't quite taken us through the crucifixion and resurrection yet, we're just today going through Jesus' trial. We thought it might be appropriate, but we're Lisa's group, by the way, and Lisa couldn't be here, and she really apologizes, but her mother had medical issues. She felt like she needed to be there for those. We wanted to read to you a tale. It's a folk tale, which an author by the name of Angela L. Hunt retold and put into a book, which is beautifully illustrated. But it's a beautiful tale which is sold as a children's book, but I think even mature Christians will find a lot here to chew on. So in any event, let's start with the tale of three trees. Once upon a mountaintop, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars twinkling like diamonds above him. I want to hold treasure, he said. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world. The second tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to be a strong sailing ship, he said. I want to travel mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where busy men and busy women worked in a busy town. I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all, she said. I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world.
Years passed, the rains came, the sun shone, and the little trees grew tall. One day, three woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree's beautiful, it's perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the first tree fell. "Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest," thought the first tree. "I shall hold wonderful treasure." The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong, it is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell. "Now I shall sail mighty waters," thought the second tree. "I shall be a strong ship fit for kings." The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven. But the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered. With a swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell.
The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him to the shipyard. But no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail an ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day, he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in the young lumber yard. What happened, the once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted to do was mountaintop and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed, and the three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one golden starlit night poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in a feed box. "I wish I could make a cradle for him," her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. "The manger is beautiful," she said, and suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world.
One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up and stretched out his hand and said, "Peace!" The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun. And suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It had made the first tree beautiful. It had made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. That was better than being the tallest tree in the world. You're probably wondering why we chose this tale to connect with what we've learned in Matthew this year. And I think for us in our group, and what this story so beautifully illustrates, is that this memory verse we had a few lessons ago. And I can't tell you how valuable memory verses are, especially in times of great confusion and loss. They're anchors. It's God's revelation, his gift to us, to encourage us, but also to look at him. And in Matthew, we may know Jesus already, we may not know him well, but here we see him in the descriptions and the testimonies of who he is, what he has done, and what he will do. And as I look at this verse, then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it. And whoever loses his life will save it. And you can see that being illustrated by the story of the three trees, the great disappointment they had when all their dreams, maybe you think of your own dreams that have been shattered, had just been wiped out. And you're depressed and discouraged, just like those disciples on Friday, what we call Good Friday, the Friday before the Passover, the Sabbath. So as we look at that, we felt that this would be a good reminder, and we need to be reminded of it all the time, because Jesus, even in the Garden of Gethsemane, struggled with this, denying himself, because he was God, King of kings and Lord of lords, maker of heaven and earth, who could have stopped it. But he didn't. He didn't. He denied himself, but the battle was strong, and so our battle is strong even today with the losses, the griefs that we have. And the second memory verse that came to mind from Matthew includes a promise. If the greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and humbles himself will be exalted. Now, we think of, a lot of people say, oh, I couldn't do what you do because you must have a lot of jewels in your crown. Well, it's not exactly the exaltation the world thinks of. It's an exaltation in the glory of God, and being caught up in that glory and being in awe and wonder about him doing the impossible, him doing marvelous things. It's him. The glory is God himself. And we will realize that we have, our dreams are like nothing compared to that moment of glory and exaltation. So it was a great reminder for me, and maybe hopefully for you, that when we face disappointment, we have greater things are at work, and we will experience greater things beyond our imagination. Thanks.